What's up guys, it's me, Głowcyn, and as this is going to be an IRL channel, you can feel free to call me David. And I really wanted to start this IRL channel because, as you can see behind me, this is a summer vacation home that my parents bought about 10 years ago, and they are now out of the country for work for 4 years. So it is up to me now to take care of the garden here and of the property. And at the beginning of this year, I've been really inspired with gardening. I've never done it before, and it is something that I now look very forward to doing. It's been an amazing journey since the beginning of February. I started to really watch a lot of YouTube videos about gardening and started to sow some seedlings. So I wanted to document this journey of me building this garden, growing some fresh vegetables here, and really taking advantage of this space and really try to live a more fulfilling life, since we are in Czech Republic here, and we actually live in Prague, which is the capital city, but we are here, it's about 100 kilometers away from Prague. So we will not be here every single day. We have to go back to Prague every now and then for work and other things. So I won't be able to be here every single day to take care of the garden. So it's going to be an interesting project to see what we can grow and how we can take care of this property, mainly during the weekends and sometimes even during the week when we can take some home office from our work. And speaking of work, I just work a boring corporate job for Company X, and this gardening, being here, is really refreshing, and it really suits the mind and the soul, and this is going to be an amazing experience that I want to document and share with you guys. So with that out of the way, I'll now give you a tour of the garden so that you can see what we are working with here and what I have planted, what are my plans. So yeah, really looking forward to it, and I'll show you the garden. Before I start the tour, I also wanted to share some footage of the village where the property is located in. The day before, on the 1st of May, in every village of the country, it is a tradition to erect a maika, which is a big pole with some colorful paper on top. And I also wanted to show you how I make bread, because I had a dough I made yesterday and I really wanted to bake it, so I'll show that to you as well. Alright, here we're gonna be making some bread. This is my dough that I made yesterday. It's been proofing since then and it's ready to go in the oven. So what I did was use 400 grams of flour, around 50 or 75 grams of my sourdough starter. That's almost a year old, that I created myself. And I also added some flaxseed, some sunflower seeds, pecan nuts, and a bit of poppy seeds, because why not? I'm trying to experiment here. So we're gonna take this and get it in the oven. Alright, so here we have our oven. It's been preheating at 250 degrees Celsius for a couple of minutes now, so it's already at that desired heat. So I'm gonna take out this Dutch oven. It's not necessary, but it will turn out better if you have a Dutch oven. So it's also been in the oven as well, so this is really hot. So I'm gonna take off the lid here. Alright, so now we're gonna transfer this bread over to this baking paper. Hopefully it didn't stick to the basket, and we'll get a nice, so, oh, there we go. Very nice, looking very good. So now I don't have my usual razor that I make the incisions with, so I'll just use scissors. You can just get it in with the scissor like this and make your cuts into the bread so that it can rise nicely. I'm just gonna make a couple of single ones along the other side here. And now that this is on the paper, I'm gonna carefully lift it up, place it in this Dutch oven over here, and get it as fast as possible into the oven. There we go. And there it is in the oven, and we'll set a timer for 20 minutes and then we'll make the big reveal. All right, it's been 20 minutes, so it's time to take this little treasure out. Oh, this oven really doesn't have good ventilation, so there's a lot of... All right, let's take this out. All right, it's time for the big reveal. This is where either dreams are realized or hopes are crushed. So let's see. Ooh, it looks pretty good. It actually sprung up quite well. So this doesn't look that bad. All right, so now that we have taken it out and we've taken off the lid and we can see this beautiful bread, it's time to reduce the temperature of the oven to around 230 or 225 degrees Celsius. And now we're gonna open this oven back up, take this beautiful little bread, stick it back in without the lid, and we're gonna bake this for another 20 to 25 minutes at a lower temperature without the lid, and this will help develop that delicious crust that we all love. So thank you, and we'll check back in 20 minutes. All right, so now we've got our timer. It's just started to chime. It's been 25 minutes, so I'll turn this off and let's get ready to take out this bread and see what's up. You can obviously check on this bread since you've already taken out the lid. You can check on it every now and then. And there you go. You can see the crust is beautiful. You've got this really browning over here where the cut was made, and the crust is nice and brown. You can obviously keep it in there for as long as you want. If you like a much darker crust, you can keep it in there for slightly longer, but this is perfect. I'm so happy about this bread. It turned out really good. So I'll just get this out of this like this, and here we have our finished product. It didn't raise very much, but it's still got a bit of a raise, and it honestly looks delicious. It also smells very, very good. Can't wait to try it. But you really want to make sure that you keep this bread. You want it to come back down to room temperature on its own. So it's best if you leave it to cool down on its own. This way the moisture inside the bread can redistribute naturally and get you a better finished product, because if you would cut it, all of the moisture would just come out and the bread could be a bit dry. So we're just gonna let this cool for a couple of hours on its own, and then we will cut it and see how many bubbles and all of that we got. All right, so we have our bread here. It was sitting for about 4 hours, so it should be pretty cool now, so we can cut into this and see what we got. So I'm just gonna cut here. I love the back end of the bread, the crust. Let's really cut it. And here we can see we got the poppy seeds in there. This is a bit of chocolate that I added as well, just for some interesting twist. And you can see it's really nice. You got these big bubbles. You got the flax seeds. You got the sunflower seeds and a bit of the poppy seeds scattered around. So it's looking really nice, and I'll do a quick taste test. Oh yeah, that is so good. It's really delicious. It's very crunchy, and I guess next time I will leave it for a little longer so that the crust is a bit more crunchy and more black. I like it more that way, but it's really delicious. So yeah, stay tuned for a full bread making video that I'll make in the future, where I'll show you how I make the dough and everything. this was just the baking process. And yeah, thank you. Alright, so now I will show you around the garden. So right here we have a shad bush, or it's also called a service berry. It's already finished flowering, and hopefully there'll be a lot of berries to pick this year. They're very delicious. They're something in between like a blueberry and a black currant. They're very delicious, so hopefully we'll get a decent harvest this year, because the past years there have been just a few berries to pick. And moving forward over here, we have a blackberry that's vining through this fence, and it's been very productive each year. There's been a ton of blackberries here. There's some new shoots coming out of here as well. And as you can see behind me, there is a pond right next to the property, which is very convenient because it helps us cut on water costs quite a lot. I can just go in there and grab a bucket of water and use that to water the whole garden. So that's very convenient. And this whole aisle, I guess, is mainly just for flowers and all of that. So there used to be some black currants, red currants, and gooseberries in here, but they all died last year. So we had to take them out. So now there are no more berries, unfortunately. We decided to not plant any at the moment. We'll just wait for my parents to come back and they can plant whatever they want. So we're leaving it as is. So here there's just a bunch of flowers that have started sprouting and growing, as it's the 2nd of May today. And these 3 vining trees over here, those are mini kiwis. They are very small kiwis, like berry kiwis. They're very delicious. And unfortunately, as you can see, the leaves are very damaged because it started growing really nicely a couple of weeks back. And last week, unfortunately, we had a random frost come in. It was 3 days where the temperatures dropped below 0 at night. And it actually even snowed in here, so hopefully the bushes will recover, because the kiwis are very, very good, very delicious. And here is a comfrey plant. It's a very good plant. Once it finishes flowering, you can cut it down and soak it in water for a couple of weeks, and you have a perfect fertilizer for the garden. Here I actually bought, like a month ago, I bought like an Icelandic poppy. They planted this here, and there are some flower buds coming over here, which I'm very excited about. Based on this picture, they're very nice and colorful and very helpful for bees. So I'm very excited for these to start flowering anytime soon. And yeah, that's pretty much it. There's a lot of lavender bushes here as well, which the bees love. There's a lot of comfrey and these really stocky plants. They have really nice red flowers that are like elongated. They're very interesting. I don't know the names of any of these flowers, unfortunately. So that is the flower patch. And here is a pizza oven. It hasn't been used very frequently. I actually used it last year to make some delicious pizza. And hopefully this year we'll make some more. And right here I have some potatoes that I've left here to chit. I'll show you where I planted the potatoes. These are just backup potatoes in case those don't sprout, because one of them got damaged by last week's frost as well. These are 4 bell pepper plants that I actually These are from store-bought peppers that we just bought in the supermarket, and I just decided to save the seeds and planted them, and they're coming along very nicely. Some red, well, it's just a bell pepper, a sweet bell pepper. And here I had very bad results with starting tomato seedlings. All of them died on me, so I've decided to start again, and here I have a tray of tomatoes that I sowed I think 5 days ago. So I know it's a bit late in the season to start tomatoes, but I just want to make sure I get it right for next year, for example. So I just started tomato seeds in here. Hopefully they'll germinate and grow better than the ones before. And over here we have some spicy chilies that my girlfriend sowed. So they're coming along very nicely. There's 6, 8. One of them died, unfortunately. Sorry. And in these 2 holes I just put normal lettuce seeds for them to grow, and these 2 plants are rhubarb, which I'm very excited to grow. I know they're gonna get huge over time, and I don't know if there is space for it in the garden. I'll have to figure that out with my parents, and if not, I'll put it in a pot and take it with me to our own place where we're gonna live, and we're gonna have delicious rhubarb. So here there's a big bush of chives right here. Here are some more flowers, roses, more flowers, and these are blueberries I bought 2 months ago from a nursery, and you can see there's a bumblebee here just really pollinating that flower. I'm very happy to see that. That is so nice. Hello, little guy. So yeah, I bought these from a nursery, and I potted them into slightly bigger pots and added some ericaceous mix because blueberries really like acidic soil. And I also added this mulch that I made myself. I just went into the forest and just crushed up some bark and anything I could find, and just used it as a nice mulch to simulate the forest ground where blueberries usually grow. So moving along, we have more roses. This is more like a rose patch, and here we have some of my seedlings that I've started a couple of months ago, especially the ones that are here. I started a few 2 months ago. This is spinach, looking really nice. I have some transplanted in the raised bed that I'll show you later on, and this is some bok choy, looking very pretty, and some chard as well. And here I planted some salad seeds that hopefully will germinate soon. Here I have some marigolds. These are flowers that I'm gonna later on transplant with the tomatoes because they're very good companion flowers for tomatoes. And this is just some romaine lettuce that has been growing really nicely, and I'll let it grow on in the plugs for a little while longer. And once they're bigger, for example like the spinach, I'll transplant it into the raised bed. And here in these 2 massive pots I put potatoes. This pot of potatoes, they actually came out really gorgeously. They already came out. I was so happy to see them. It was my first time growing potatoes. I was very excited to see them come out. They look beautiful. But as I mentioned last week, there was a frost and they got damaged. The tops of the leaves completely froze and dried off. So hopefully, I think potatoes are sturdy plants, so they might recover from it. So hopefully they recover. And these are potatoes that I planted, I think 2 weeks ago. These ones were planted 1 month ago, and these ones haven't come out yet, but hopefully they will very soon. If not, I have the backup potatoes over there, as I mentioned. And here we have a smelly concoction. This is nettle tea. I just went into the forest. There's tons of nettle everywhere, so I just gathered a lot of nettle and I added it in a lot of water, and I'm letting it stew in it it should stew for a couple of weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, and this will make a great fertilizer for all the greens, the spinach, the bok choys, the chard, and any leafy greens. So this is stewing over here for a couple of more weeks, and it's really strong. The smell is really strong already. I just mixed this 30 minutes ago, and when I opened it, I got pretty stunned by the smell. So we'll see what happens in 2 more weeks. And actually, here is a lovage, it's called. It's an herb that's used in soups, and it's very good, it's decent. It's what my parents sowed here a while ago. It's a perennial plant, and the funny thing about this one is that it'll grow so tall. Like, I remember last year when it actually reached the ceiling. It actually went all the way up and it was touching the ceiling. So this plant is gonna grow like crazy. So this year we'll try and keep it more in check so that it doesn't go so crazy. Here we have a plum tree. This is a plum tree that has been here for about 5 years. We didn't get any plums yet, but hopefully it'll change this year. There were a couple of them, but they got invaded by aphids last year. I think they already are now as well. As you can see, some of these leaves are curled up. Yeah, and you can just see the ants in there bringing in the aphids on the leaves. So we're gonna have to take care of this at some point, because they completely destroyed the plant last year, and I don't want to let that happen again, so we'll have to battle the ants and the aphids on this one. And speaking of that, there's an apple tree over here that is pretty much dead. It's very dry, and any new growth hasn't come off from it. It also got invaded by aphids last year, and I guess the plant just didn't survive, so I think this will need to go, and we'll get another apple tree, which is very sad because this tree actually produced some really good apples last year. We enjoyed them very much, but I guess it just wasn't able to survive the aphid attack. So here is the compost bin. Here I put every sort of kitchen scrap we get, any grass clippings, any leaves, any twigs, everything is in here. It's looking pretty well, actually. And yeah, we'll just keep on making more compost throughout the year, and hopefully we'll have enough compost and soil for next year, since this compost bin wasn't used very much because my parents only used to come here over the weekends, and since they were out of the country anyways, the compost didn't get very developed, but I'm looking to change that this year. So I had to buy a lot of compost for the raised beds this year, and hopefully next year I won't have to buy, because I'll have enough of my own compost to use in the raised beds as well as in any containers when I want to plant anything. So this year we had to invest in soil, but next year hopefully we won't have to. That's the dream and the vision. And here is a cherry tree, also got destroyed by aphids. As you can see, it's growing very strangely. That the bottom branches are okay, and you can already see it's being invaded by aphids again. You can just see underneath this leaf, there's so many of them. They're already getting, and I'm pretty sure that the top just died because of the aphids, but it looks like there might be some cherries here at some point, but the tree got pretty destroyed by the aphids and like this. Wow, look at that. That is crazy. That's an absolute invasion, and it's because of the ants, because they live together with the aphids. They put them on the leaves and then they harvest the honeydew that they create. So taking care of the ants would be one solution. So we'll have to see what we do about that, because they're destroying all our trees. And here is the first raised bed. We have our stray cat Mikeš just lying in it. It isn't any problem because there isn't much planted in there yet. As you can see, he is lying in the part that doesn't have anything planted in it yet. And he's just chilling. He lives in that house across the street. The owners don't come there anymore, but he still lives in that house, and he's now more of a stray cat. But we've decided to start taking care of him, and we feed him. He's a sweetheart. He comes every now and then. We give him some food. He actually brought us some mice. We had mice issues last year, and since we started taking care of him, there are no more mice. So we're working together with the cat very well. So you can see he's lying in the bok choys. Hello, don't worry about me. He's lying in the bok choys and the charts. That I had so many seedlings, as you saw the ones before there, I had so many seedlings that I just decided to try my luck and transplant them young into the raised bed, because I had so many of them. And some of them are growing very well, which is nice to see. Some of them aren't growing that much, some of them are still small, but we'll see what happens. And here we have some red lettuce that I bought from a nursery as a 6-pack of lettuces. They were like about this small. I put 4 into these pots and they grew very nicely. We already had a harvest, and we've been picking off the leaves, the bottom leaves every now and then, and eating them in salads or just eating them raw as we come, just munching on them. They're very delicious. And 2 of them I planted in the raised bed directly, and those didn't make it, unfortunately. So here is garlic. I planted this, I think, in February, which is not the ideal time to plant garlic, but it's still growing pretty nicely. Hopefully we'll get a couple of cloves that we can harvest. Here is some arugula or rocket. This is a perennial plant that has been here since forever. It was planted here by my parents, and it's just been here all the time. It returns every year, so that's great. It's very delicious. And here, moving along, I bought some tomato plants in the nursery, and I transplanted these yesterday. I added a mulch here to protect them. And this is a berry type of tomato. It's gonna have really small tomatoes, which we really enjoy in salads. And this is a cherry tomato. It's going to be slightly bigger ones, slightly bigger than these ones. So hopefully, I transplanted them yesterday and they look pretty healthy. So hopefully they'll grow and we'll get a good harvest of tomatoes. Here is a zucchini plant that I also bought at the nursery. We didn't plan on growing zucchini this year. We tried it last year to some mixed results, but we saw it at the nursery for very cheap, so we decided to buy it and try. My idea is that this will start vining over the edge of the bed, or over that edge of the bed if I move these pots, so it won't compete with any of these other plants that are here as well. And this is the rocket. This is where it was originally planted, and as you can see, it has spread around the bed. And we have already harvested this. It's very good. It's very crispy. It's very delicious, very nutritious. And here we just have a beet that we bought last year. We didn't eat. We forgot about it in the pantry, and it was already starting to sprout. So we just decided to plant it. and we have been harvesting the leaves to put into salads. You can see I just pricked off some of the leaves here, and this will just keep giving you leafy greens and maybe even some seeds in the future. If it flowers, we can get some seeds and plant the beets. This is broccoli. It's growing on very nicely. I bought this at a nursery as well. I bought 6 broccolis and only 1 survived, unfortunately. I planted 2 into this bed over here. Those didn't survive. And I planted 4 into these pots. And as I mentioned last week, there was an unexpected frost, like 3 days of under 0 degrees Celsius weather overnight, and 3 of the broccolis in these containers died and only this one survived. So I'm really looking forward to this broccoli. Hopefully it grows. It's going to be a very interesting crop to see grow and harvest. I've never actually seen wild broccoli, and you just buy it at the store, and I've seen how it grows, and it's going to be very, very interesting, and I'm looking forward to it. And here we have some leeks that my girlfriend planted last year. We planted 6 leeks last year. We harvested 3, and we left 3 over winter. They overwintered very well, and about a month and a half ago in spring, like, the leaves were completely dead, so I just cut them at the base, all 3 leeks, and they sprouted back up. One of them unfortunately didn't make it, but we have 2 leeks that have regrown their leaves. So we will look to harvest this in late summer, midsummer, something like that. We will just snip it right here again, and this will allow the leek to grow over the remainder of the summer and autumn, to grow back to this size so that it can overwinter again, and we can just repeat this process and have infinite leeks, pretty much, unless they just die somehow. But it should work out like this, that if you cut it, it'll just regrow back. It's a root vegetable, so it should survive that no problem. Here is a lot of spinach that I transplanted here. Some of them are doing pretty well, some of them not so much. And yeah, I'll just keep the spinach here. We will be harvesting the leaves every now and then. Spinach, I think, is prone to bolting in the summer when it becomes too hot. So we will have to harvest the leaves as much as possible to prevent it from going into flower as much as possible. Here are some strawberries, some perennial strawberries that were here planted by my parents at the start. Only 2 of them have made it this year, which is honestly fine. We aren't very big fans of strawberries. My girlfriend doesn't like strawberries, and I like them, but I think I can potentially grow much more interesting crops in here. And maybe I'll look to transplant the strawberries into a container so that we can use this raised bed for other things. And this trellis, or this arch over here, is gonna be used to support beans. I direct planted the beans here 2 days ago. I put one at each base of this arch. I put one here, one over by this piece of twig, so it can grow on this and vine. It's a vining bean, so it'll grow up, and hopefully it's going to produce some delicious beans. I'm very looking forward to it. And here I actually put a lot of compost over here. There used to be very tall grass over here, so I cut that down. I put some compost here, and I put some marigolds here. I direct sowed some marigolds in these spaces over here. And this is, I forgot the name of the plant, but I'll put it on screen right now. It's also a very nice companion flower that's going to attract a lot of beneficial insects. I apologize for forgetting the name of the plant, but dealing with so many that it's easy to forget the names. And moving on to the second raised bed that we have over here. There's this arch as well going towards this one. So I also planted some beans over here as well that they'll vine over. And I'll maybe have to move this spinach out of the way. And unfortunately, just as with the trees that I showed you, there's starting to have an aphid problem on the spinach as well. There are a lot of ants running around this raised bed, and they're putting the aphids on the leaves of the spinach, which is very unfortunate because, as you can see, this leaf is completely curled up. And I actually did my best to try and remove them as much as possible in the morning. I came in with a small stick to remove them, and as you can see, this ant is coming back here to place the aphids back on it again. I actually used a toothbrush and really tried to get in to the leaves, remove the aphids as much as possible, and then like use one of these smaller sticks to just brush them off and hopefully kill them. But that's going to be a lot of work, so I guess some of the spinach is doomed to be destroyed by aphids, which is very unfortunate. But there's a lot more spinach over here. Not all of it is attacked by aphids. There's a lot more seedlings that I have that I'll probably put in a pot that is gonna be okay with the aphids. They're not gonna be attacked as much. So here are 2 rows of radishes that I directly sowed, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago. So roughly in another week or 2, we're gonna be able to harvest them. And I think I'll keep these 2 patches for radishes the whole season. Radishes grow very quickly, around 4 weeks. You just direct sow them, and in 4 weeks you can enjoy some delicious radishes. So I'll keep rotating radishes here all the time. I love radishes. They're great in salads, great in everything. So once these are picked, I'll just sow in more radishes that I'll enjoy the next month. And here I have some peas. I planted them into plug trays first because we used to have very big issues with slugs here last year. There was a ton of slugs eating everything. So I started the peas in pots so that they have a chance to grow nice and tall, so that if any slugs come, they wouldn't completely damage the plant. And I've placed some of these tree branches over here that I'm just gonna allow the pea to, as you can see, it has these tendrils, and they'll just tendril around these branches and grow up. So every now and then I just come in here and try to correct these pea shoots so that they're growing nice and straight up. So yeah, here I have like a row that's open for some other things that I'll plant. Maybe I'll put in some of that chard and bok choy over here, we'll see. And here is some spring onion that's been here for 5 years. It's been here forever. We don't really eat that much spring onion, so this has been here pretty much forever, untouched. It's been growing all the time, and as you can see, it has seeded quite a lot. There's some new ones growing in here as well. And here is a random little salad that I guess is a result of one seed from last year. We had salads here last year and they bolted. We let them flower and I guess they seeded, and now there's a little salad coming out here. There are some random radishes every now and then that I planted about a month and a half ago, and I wasn't happy with how I planted them, so I raked the soil, and now there's just some random radishes popping out here and there. And where these sticks are, I planted carrot seeds along this line, like this and like this. I planted carrot seeds 2 weeks ago, so they should start coming out soon, hopefully. And in the meantime, I'm not sure if these are actually the carrots that are coming in or if this is dill. I think this is dill because when I just take one of these seedlings out, mash it in my fingers, it smells like dill. Since last year there were 3 dill plants over here, and apparently they dropped all their seeds and now there's a million dill just sprouting here. So dill is great. We love dill. We use it in almost everything, salads, in pickling, almost everything. Dill is very useful. So I'm happy to see dill popping up here, but we're obviously gonna have to tame this insane invasion of dill. We're just gonna have to pick it out every now and then and allow just a couple of these plants to be here so that there's room for other things that I want to grow. So yeah, that's mostly it. Here is only the last part of the garden. This is like a herb space. There's some oregano, some thyme, some sage, rosemary, some mint, more lovage in the back, and you can see the cat here. It's chilling in there. It's a nice and comfy spot. And I guess the last thing to show is there's a bug hotel that my brother made a couple of years ago. I don't think it's inhabited by anything at the moment, and on there is a bird feeder that I myself made, I think like 5 years ago. It looks pretty terrible and pretty worn, but it gets the job done. You put some seeds in and the birds love it. So yeah, that is it for the garden. You've seen everything that I have begun to plant, and hopefully in a couple of weeks I'll show you an update of how everything is growing and what my future plans are, what I'm gonna plant in the holes that we have, and what I will plant whenever, like for example, the spinach will end in a couple of months. It'll just grow and bolt, so I'll have to replace it with something. And just stay in touch for future updates, and thank you so much for watching and have a great day.